Okie dokie. My hair is a little more crazy than I thought it was gonna be, but that's okay. If you were here last time, I was reading a CIA paper, and I am doing the second part of that now. If you want to go see the full first part of it, you can find my YouTube. It is up there. I'll be putting this part up hopefully today. Yeah, without further ado, let's finish this, babes. Okay. So we are on page 13, number 18, time, space, dimensions. Up to this point, our discussion of the gateway process has been relatively simple and easy to follow. Depends on who you are. Now, the fun begins. Gateway involves more than just perception of those aspects of the universal hologram which can be accessed in the dimension of time and space as we know it. To explain how, I need my little reading thing actually real quick. Back. Unfortunately, it is difficult to read farther away and I don't want to get too close. Okay, so back to where we are. Let's see. To explain how and why human consciousness can be brought up to transcend the limitations of time and space is the next task which must be addressed. To do this, we must first appreciate what time and space are in order to understand how the dimensions that they constitute can be transcended. Physicists define time as a measurement of energy or force in motion. In other words, it is a measurement of change. However, in order for energy to be in motion, it must first be limited in some way within the confines of some sort of wow, I can say this word. Vibratory pattern, so that its confinement gives it the capacity for being contained at a specific location, which is distinguishable from other locations, space. Energy which is not confined is force without limit, without dimension, without the limits of form. It is infinite, cannot move because there is nothing beyond infinity, and is therefore outside of the dimension of time. It is also beyond space because that concept implies that a specific energy form is limited to a specific location and is absent from the other locations. But if energy is in the state of infinity, there are no boundaries, no here, to differentiate from there. No sense of area. Energy is infinite, means energy uniformly extends without limit. It has no beginning, no end, no location. It is conscious force, the fundamental, primal part of existence without form, a state of infinite beginning. Energy in infinity. I gotta scroll down. Hold on. Where are we? Energy in infinity is said to be completely at rest and therefore cannot generate holograms so long as it remains utterly inactive. It retains its inherent capacity for consciousness in that it can receive and passively perceive, holograms generated by energy in motion out in the various dimensions which make up the created universe, but it cannot be perceived by consciousness operating in the active universe. Energy in this state of inactivity, infinity, is termed by physicians as energy in its absolute state, or simply the absolute. Between absolute and the material universe in which we experience our physical existence are various interviewing dimensions to which human consciousness and alternated states of being may gain access. Theoretically, human consciousness may continue to expand the horizon of its perceptual capability until it reaches the dimension of the absolute, at which point perception stops because the absolute generates no holograms of or about itself. Oh my gosh. I love that, actually. Okay. Number 19. Interviewing dimensions. Since the absolute is conscious energy in infinity, i.e. without boundaries, it occupies every dimension to include the time-space dimensions in which we have our physical existence, but we cannot perceive it. It overlays everything, as do many of the interviewing gradients or dimensions through which the energy of the universe pass on their way to and from their home in the state of infinity, the absolute. To enter these interviewing dimensions, human consciousness must focus with such intense coherence that the frequency of their energy pattern, which compromises that consciousness, i.e. the brainwave output, can accelerate to the point where the resulting frequency pattern, if displayed on... Oh my gosh, this is hard because while they're fucking started screen shooting it and putting it on here, it's crooked, so I'm trying to read and go down to the next line. I keep going up. I even have this and it's not helping too much. I'm gonna adjust a little bit. Okay, let's try again. Okay. To enter these interviewing dimensions, human consciousness must focus on such intense coherence that the frequency of the energy pattern, which compromises the consciousness, i.e. the brainwave output, can accelerate to the point where the resulting frequency pattern, if displayed on, and what is this called? Oscilloscope. It's Oscilloscope. Oscilloscope. Would look virtually like a solid line. Achievement of this state of altered consciousness sets the stage for perception of non-time-space dimensions because of the operation of a principle in physics known as Planck's distance. I've never heard of Planck's distance. Have you guys? I'll have to look into it. This is an aspect of quantum mechanics which applies to the fact that any oscillating frequency, such as a brainwave, reaches 2 points of complete rest, which contains the boundaries of each individual oscillation, movement up or down, i.e. movement up or down. Without these points of rest, an oscillating wave pattern would be impossible, since the points of rest are required to permit the energy to change directions and thus continue vibrating between rigid limits. But it is also true that when for an infinitesimally brief instant, I'm going to try and say that word again. Are you ready? Infinitesimally brief instant, the energy reaches one of its 2 points of rest. It clicks out of time-space and joins infinity. Next, the crucial step, and then it says see Exhibit 3, but I'll show you those pictures in a second. The crucial step out of time-space occurs when the speed of the oscillation drops below 10 to the negative 33rd centimeters per second. That's Planck's distance, apparently. To use the words of Bentov, quote, quantum mechanics tell us that when distance go beyond Planck's distance, which is 10 to the negative 33 centimeters, we enter, in effect, a new world. To return to our case in point, the human consciousness wave pattern reaches such high frequency that the pattern of clickouts comes so close together that there is virtually the clickouts come so close together that there is virtually continuity in it. These sentences, though, I've literally never read a document this, I don't know, specifically worded. Then, a portion of the consciousness is actually postulated to establish and maintain its information collection function in those dimensions, located between time and space in the absolute. Thus, as the almost continuous click-out patterns establish itself in continuous phases as speeds below Planck's distance, but before reaching the state of the total rest. Human consciousness passes through the looking glass of time and space after the fashion of Alice begins her journey into Wonderland. The gateway experience, with its association hemisync technique, is apparently designed, if used systematically and patiently, to enable human consciousness to establish a coherent pattern of perception. In those dimensions where speeds below Planck's distance apply, this holds true irrespective of whether the individual is exercising his consciousness while in his physical body or whether he is doing so after having separated that consciousness from the physical body, i.e., the so-called out-of-body state mentioned earlier. Now we're on to number 20. Subatomic particles. The behavior of subatomic particles provides an interesting example of the phenomenon of clickout discussed in the preceding paragraphs. In an article prepared for Science Digest magazines, Dr. John Gleeman mentions the way in which subatomic particles communicate with each other once their energy fields become entrained as a result of colliding with each other. The communication concerned is, of course, postulated to be occurring during the clickout phase. In the oscillation of the energy fields comprising the subatomic particles concerned, it is the cause which accounts for the cross-communication at what is terms of time and space velocity, which seems to involve speeds in excess of light. In reality, Einstein's theory of relativity is not being invalidated, but rather the communication concerned is taking place outside of the dimension of time and space to which the theory of relativity is strictly confined. Specifically, Dr. Gleeman tells us, quote, quantum theory postulates a kind of long-range Siamese twin effect without two subatomic particles collide, whenever two subatomic particles collide and then go their different ways. Even when the particles are halfway across the universe from each other, it says that they instantaneously respond to each other's actions, and in doing so, they violate relativity's ban on faster than light velocities, end quote. Indeed, regarding attempts to quantify what is known about the behavior of energy in dimensions apparently outside of time and space, Bentov speaks about, quote, courageous physicians who are working on hypothetical particles called tycoons, which can move at speeds higher than light. The speed of tycoons starts just above the speed of light and ranges all the way to infinite velocities. Damn. If you guys understand this stuff, first off, just right off the bat, I'd be impressed. Because I definitely took some time to do a little research before I decided to try and read this to people. Just so I'd say words right. And I'm still like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Okay, drink water real quick. Okay. I'm going to show you guys this picture of the absolute that I was talking about from 2 paragraphs back real quick that I was trying to explain. And then I will show you, I will finish reading the things. There's a few of these, I think. I want to make it easiest for me by doing this. How do we flip the camera? Flip the camera. No. There we go. Okay. That is the absolute infinity, right? I don't know how they expect people to understand that, but that's it. That's what they were talking about. That's, yeah. I don't know. Well, I'm going to do more research and whatever, so find my YouTube. You guys will find everything on there about this. Okay. 21. Dimensions in between. Now that we have postulated the legitimacy of the assertion that the energy forms which compose consciousness can move beyond the time-space dimension, we need to turn our attention to the energy from which, scrolling down, inhabit those dimensions between the time and space and the absolute. In doing so, we may better perceive the form that reality assumes when we encounter it in those intermediate dimensions. In this context, Bentov tells us that, quote, the causal relationship between events breaks down. Movements become jerky rather than smooth. Time and space may become grainy or chunky. Perhaps a piece of space can be traversed by a particular particle of matter in any direction without necessarily being synchronized with a piece of time. In short, a pair of events will occur in either time or space, the pair not being connected casually, but by a random this word. See, this is what I'm saying. What does this word mean? Fluctuation. Fluctuation? Like flowing motion? Does anyone know? Does anyone know? Okay, it's okay. I'm gonna read this a whole bunch of times more, so I will tell you eventually if you don't know. End quote. What Bentov means is that inside the dimensions of the time-space where both concepts apply in a generally uniform way, there is a proportional relationship between them. A certain space can be covered by energy moving in either particle or wave form in a certain time, assuming a specific velocity virtually anywhere in the time and space universe. The relationship is neat and predictable. However, in the intermediate dimension beyond time and space, the limitations imposed on energy to put it into a state of oscillating motion are not uniform as they are in our physical universe. A myriad of various distortions and incongruencies are thus likely to be encountered, such that our nice, neat assumptions concerning the relationship between time and space as we know it in this dimension do not apply. But even more important, access is open to both the past and the future, where the dimensions of current time-space is left behind. Oof. Okay. Number 22. Special status out-of-body experience. Although human consciousness can, with enough practice, move beyond the dimensions of time and space interface with other energy systems in other dimensions, the entire process is appreciably enhanced if that consciousness can be detached in large measures from the physical body before such interface is attempted. Once an individual becomes proficient in in the technique of out-of-body movement and then reaches the point where he is able to break out of time and space while out of his body, he gains the advantage of clicking out part of his enhanced consciousness while starting from a base located much closer to the dimension with which he wishes to communicate. In other words, since he is starting from a point much higher up, to use an analog from the time and space context, the part of his consciousness involved in clicking out will have that much more time to interact in dimensions beyond time and space, because less time is required to traverse the interviewing layers. Moreover, once the individual is able to project his consciousness beyond time and space, that consciousness would logically tend to entrain its frequency output with the new energy environment to which it is exposed, therein greatly enhancing the extent to which the individual's altered consciousness may be further modified to achieve a much heightened point of focus and much refined oscillating pattern. As a result, a self-reinforcing process should ensue whereby the further consciousness in the out-of-body state can be projected beyond time and space dimension, the more its level of energy output would be enhanced, thus promoting the potential for still farther travel. The tentative conclusion to be drawn is that the out-of-body out-of-body state may be required as an extremely effective way of accelerating the process of enhancing consciousness and of interfacing with dimensions beyond time and space. If the practitioner of the gateway technique has a choice of concentrating on achieving and exploiting the out-of-body experience as opposed to concentrating his full effort on expanding his consciousness exclusively from a physical base, the former would appear to promise much faster and more impressive success than does the latter. Yeah. Okay. 23. Absolute in perspective. It may be helpful at this point to pause and recap. Just a little. The major aspects of our intellectual journey from time-space to the realm of absolute. We have spoken at some length concerning the incredibly complex hologram which is created by the intersection of energy patterns generated by the totality of all dimensions in the universe, time-space included. We have noted that our minds constitute energy fields which interact with various aspects of the hologram to decide information which is ultimately processed through the left hemisphere of our brain to reduce it to a form that we employ from our process we call thinking. We have implied that this hologram is the finite embodiment of let me say that again. We have implied that the hologram is the finite embodiment of inactive energy form of the infinite consciousness of the absolute. It is the title we assigned. It is the title we assign to the vast pool of energy in a state of perfect rest over which the physical universe is layered. and from whence it comes. Incidentally, to describe this, Bentov uses the analog of a very deep sea, comparing the still depths of the sea to the dimensions of the absolute, while assigning the storm-tossed waves above to represent the physical universe with which we are familiar. The slightly agitated currents of the sea to be found in between the turbulent surface and the totally still depths represent energy of the process of either going into rest, i.e. approaching infinity, or coming out of rest. Did he just summarize everything he said in one paragraph? Yes. Does it still not make a lot of sense? Yes, but it's okay. We're just reading this to get it done read, okay? There will be more information in the future. Please stay with me. Okay. Number 24. From Big Bang to Torus. Working from the widely accepted Big Bang theory, Bentov presents a conceptual model to depict the process of time-space evolution, the relative position of the universe hologram. The hologram is often called a torus because it is thought to have the overall shape of an immense self-contained spiral. Basing his thesis on recent studies concerning the distribution of quasi-stellar objects, the word he says here is quasars, Q-U-A-S-A-R-S, and operating on the premise that in the universe smaller processes tend to be mirror images of larger ones, i.e. the pattern of electrons around the nucleus of an atom mirrors the way planets orbit their suns, and so on. Bentov postulates the following scenario. Taking his cue from the observed capability of quasars to eject enormous concentrated beams of matter from their interiors in a controlled, non-concentric versions of the Big Bang, he envisions. I think it's envisions. I just don't think I've ever seen envisions written. He envisions a similar process occurring in the generation of the universe. Then he has an exhibit for it. Well, I'll show you the picture later. Noting that those galaxies located to the north of our own galaxy are moving away faster than those located to the south, and that those at the east and west are demonstrably more distant. Bentov regards this as a substantive evidence that the jet of matter which expands into our universe has turned back upon itself, eventually forming an ovoid or egg shape. Ovoid. That's a strange word. He sees matter in our universe entering the ovoid pattern following ejection from a nucleus composed of extremely compressed energy through... Really? Did you really just do that, bitch? Nope, don't do that. We're not going to cuss in the middle of this. Whoa, calm down. My screen just went dark for some reason, and I have to find my spot again, sorry. So eventually forming an ovoid egg, he says he sees matter in our universe entering an ovoid pattern following ejection from a nucleus composed of extremely compressed energy through a white hole. At the end of its trip to the far end of the ovoid, he sees it departing via a black hole. In such a model, time is observed to be a measure of the change which occurs as energy evolves into new, more complex forms as it progresses along the distance from the white hole side of the nucleus around the shell of of this cosmic egg, until it enters the black hole In other words, as energy expelled from infinity and confined within limits by the consciousness of the absolute, achieves form and motion following ejection from the white hole at the top of the egg. Time begins as a measure of the cadence of this evolutionary movement as reality goes around the shell of the egg on its journey to the black hole at the far end. Let me show you guys this exhibit, right? Which I think is funny about these exhibits is that they're all hand-drawn. And he uses documentation where he gets his information, so I just don't know why he's hand-drawing them. Okay, so this is the exhibit that he's using. This is like the egg thing that he's talking about, right? So this is like the nucleus and like the white hole and black hole and like the energy, right, being like pushed out and created, and this is like reality. Apparently that's what he's saying. Here's like a dimension to kind of like try to understand. Like, does this make sense to you guys? I don't know. Like, I kind of get it. I kind of like, but it's like you can't just explain that to somebody, and honestly, like this is insane, like unless you truly understand physics and stuff, I just don't know if you're gonna fully get what that means. But I still want to show you guys. I still think it's worth seeing. I think every time you see or read something and you read it over and over again, learn more, you kind of start piecing together some of the parts that you didn't really understand before. Okay. Let's get back to it. Number 25. Our place and time. The observed distribution of galaxies suggests that our particular universe is located near the top of the egg, at the point where matter north are seen to be moving away more rapidly as they are caught up in the downturn of the stream of matter towards the far end of the cosmic egg. That was the swirly thing that you saw. Layers over the cosmic egg is the absolute, which sustains the radiating nucleus from which the original jet of matter issued forth. As the stream of matter moves around the ovid towards the destination of the black hole, where it will be reabsorbed into the radiating nucleus and then the absolute. It generates the interfering pattern within the cosmic egg, which constitutes the universal hologram of torus. Since the torus is being simultaneously generated by matter in all of the various phases of time, it reflects the development of the universe in the past, present, and future, as it would be seen from the particular perspectives in one phase of time. By reflecting on this model, it becomes possible to see how human consciousness brought to sufficiently altered focus state could obtain information concerning the past, present, and future, since they all exist in the universe hologram simultaneously. In the case of the future, because of the consequences of the past, present can be seen coming together in the hologram, such that the future can be predicted or seen with total accuracy. Moreover, it is possible to see how the implosion of energy patterns would cross and recross to create an incredibly complex four-dimensional hologram or torus, in spiral shape of the reflection of the multidimensional developing pattern of evolution. All of the movements of the energies which comprise the universe leave their mark and hence tell their story throughout time. Okay, I just want to say we are on page 19. That means only 10 more pages left, so congratulations if you actually were here the first time and then have stuck through this. Number 26, quality of consciousness. We noted earlier that the out-of-body state involves projections of major portions of the energy pattern that represents human consciousness, so that it may move either freely throughout the terrestrial sphere for purposes of information acquisition or into other dimensions outside of time and space, perhaps to interact with other forms of consciousness within the time and space, I just did it. Perhaps to interact with other forms of consciousness within the universe. Consciousness is the organizing and sustaining principle that provides the impetus and guidance to bring and keep energy in motion within a given set of parameters, so that a specific reality will result. When consciousness reaches a state of sophistication in which it can perceive itself, its own hologram, it reaches the point of self-cognition. Human beings have this form of elevated consciousness, as does the Absolute, but in case of the latter, it is a function of energy and its associated quality of consciousness in infinite omniscience and omnipotence and these words are killing me. Perceptual unity. When energy returns to a state of total rest within the Absolute, it returns to the continuum of consciousness in the pool of limitless, timeless perception that resides there. Thus, the more complex an energy system in the material state, the more consciousness is possessed to maintain its reality. Consciousness, therefore, is that differentiates aspects of the universe consciousness which resides within the Absolute. It accounts for the organization of energy patterns which constitute our physical bodies, but it's distinctly separate from and superior to it, since consciousness exists quite apart from outside of reality, beyond the bounds of time and space. It, like the Absolute, has neither begun nor ended, really. Reality has both a beginning and reality has both a beginning and an end because it is bounded within time-space, but the fundamental quantum of energy and its associated consciousness is eternal. When reality ends, its constitute energy simply returns to infinity in the Absolute. Number 27, consciousness in perspective. Having ascertained having ascertained. What is ascertained? What does that mean? Why do you put words in here no one understands? Okay, anyways, another word I'm gonna have to Google. That human consciousness is able to separate from physical reality and its interact with other intelligence and other dimensions within the universe, and that it is both eternal and destined for ultimate return to the Absolute. We are faced with the question, so what happens then? Since memory is a function of consciousness and therefore enjoys the same eternal character as the consciousness with which accounts for its existence, it must be admitted that when consciousness returns to the Absolute, it brings with it all the memories it has accumulated through the experiences in reality. The return of the consciousness to the Absolute does not imply an extinction of the separate entity which the consciousness originalized and sustained in reality. Rather, it suggests a differentiated consciousness which merges with and participates in the universal consciousness and infinity of the absolute without losing the separate identity. And stop, because if you go find this page, that is where that ends. It shows a diagram after that of the egg thing, just a different way than the pictures I sent you. Wait. Doesn't it? Okay. Never mind. That's a separate part. But there's a page missing from here, and I'm trying to find it, but I don't know if it's worth doing right now. JK, we'll follow part of it. But I thought this was the part, but it's not, because I really thought this was the part. I have the missing page, but this is where I thought there's a page missing. And there's a page missing. And I will make sure that there's a link to the missing page so that you guys can find this and the other page if you choose to read it. If not, listen to me read it. Or both. Okay. Anyways. Rather it suggests a differentiated consciousness which merges with and participates in the universal consciousness and infinity of the absolute without losing the separation identity, and accumulated self-knowledge which its memories confer upon it. What it does lose is the capability of generating of independent thoughts holograms, since that can be done only by energy in motion. In other words, it retains the power to perceive, but loses the power of will or choice. In exchange, however, the consciousness participates in the all-knowing, infinite continuum of consciousness, which is a characteristic of energy in the ever-present. Consequently, it is accurate to observe that when a person experiences the out-of-body state, he is, in fact, projecting that eternal spark of consciousness and memory which constitutes the ultimate source of his identity, to let it play in and learn from dimensions both inside and outside of time-space, world in which his physical component currently enjoys a short period of reality. Okay. Number 28. Gateway method. Having put the gateway experience in context by postulating a structural outline of how and why it seems to work, and having shown what it is designed to achieve, the time has come to examine the specific techniques which comprise the gateway training process. These techniques are designed to enable the user of the gateway tapes to manipulate the high energy states, which can be achieved if the user continues to work with the tapes over a period of time. The amount of time required to reach advanced energy states and to fully exploit the techniques varies with the individual. The sensitivity of the nervous system, his general state of mind, and the extent to which he may have previously developed facilities in related techniques such as transcendental meditation are all pertinent factors affecting the speed at which he may expect to progress. The gateway process begins by teaching the individual participant to isolate extraneous concerns in a visualization device called an energy conversion box. Next, the participant is introduced to a method of encouraging his mind and body to strive to achieve a state of resonance through utterance of a single tone, a monotonous, protracted humming sound that sets up feelings of vibrating, particularly in the head. He engages in this resonant tuning, as it is called, by humming along with a chorus of such sounds that are contained on the gateway tape. You can find that on YouTube. Following this, the participants is exposed to the gateway affirmation and is encouraged to repeat it to himself as he hears it repeated on the tape. This affirmation is a statement to the effect that the individual realizes that he is more than merely a physical body and that he deeply desires to expand his consciousness. Deeply desires. Very important. 29. Hemisync introduction. After that, he is exposed for the first time to the hemisync sound frequency and is encouraged to focus on and develop a perception of and appreciation for those feelings which accompany the synchronization of brainwaves that results. Next comes the technique of progressive and systematic physical relaxation, while the hemisync frequencies are expanded to include additional forms of pink and white noises designed to put the physical body at a virtual threshold of sleep, as well as to calm the left hemisphere of the mind while raising the right hemisphere to a state of heightened attentiveness. Once all of this is achieved, the participant is invited to envisage. How do you say? I don't care, truthfully. I'm a little salty. I think it's just envision, but I feel like that's not how you spell it. Creation of an energy balloon comprised of energy flow beginning at the center of the top of the head and extending down in all directions to the feet. The energy involved in this flow then processes up through the body and back down into the balloon pattern again. The energy balloon, which sets up a pattern very reminiscent of the cosmic egg discussed earlier, not only enhances bodily energy flow and encourages early achievement of a suitable resonant state, but it is also designed to provide protection against conscious entities possessing lower energy levels which the participant might encounter in the event that he achieves an out-of-body state. It serves a precautionary purpose in the unlikely event that the participant's first out-of-body experience involves direct projections outside of the terrestrial sphere. I really thought there was a missing page, but I feel like I'm not finding it, and I thought it would already happen by now. Weird. Whatever. We're on 22 anyways, but I feel like I have to keep moving this because I keep like leaning closer and closer to the computer to read it. Alright, let's do this. Whoo! I read like half of it the other day, so I can do it again. I got this. Oh, fuck. Okay. Number 30. Advanced techniques. Having reached focus 10, the participants is now ready to endeavor to achieve a state of sufficiently expanded awareness to begin actually interacting with dimensions beyond those associated with his experience of physical reality. This state is called Focus 12 and involves conscious efforts on his part while additional forms of pink and white noise enter the sound stream being directed into his ear from the gateway tape. Once the participant has achieved this state of greatly expanded awareness, he is ready to begin employing a series of specific techniques or tools, as the Monroe Institute characterizes them, which enables him to manipulate his newly found expanded awareness to obtain particularly useful feedback of value for promoting self-discovery and personal growth. The specific techniques involved are described individually below. Okay, and now we're going to go into these techniques. A. Problem solving. These techniques involve identifying fundamental problems which the individual wishes to see solved, fulfilling his expanded awareness with his perception of these problems, and then projecting them out into the universe. In this way, the individual enlists the assistance of what Monroe Institute calls his higher self. In other words, his expanded consciousness, to interact with the universe hologram to obtain the information required to solve the problem. This approach may be used to solve personal difficulties, technical problems in the realm of physics, mathematics, etc., practical administrative problems, and so on. Responses to the problem-solving techniques may be received almost immediately, but often they come based on developing intuition over the next 2 or 3 frequently 3 days. Frequently, the response comes in the form of a sudden holistic perception in which the individual suddenly finds that he simply knows the answer in all of its ramifications and completely in context, sometimes without even being able to put his newly found perception into words, at least initially. In some cases, the response may even arrive in the form of visual symbols which the individual will see with his mind while he is in the focus 12 state, and which he will have to interpret after he returns to normal consciousness. What they consider normal consciousness, right? Or this consciousness. B. Patterning. The techniques involved use of this consciousness to achieve desired objectives in the physical, emotional, or intellectual sphere. It involves concentration on the desired objective while in a focus 12 state, extension of the individual's perception of that objective into the whole expanded consciousness, and its projection into the universe with the intention that the desired objective is already a matter of established achievement, which is designed to be realized within the time frame specified. This particular method is based on the belief that the thought pattern generated by our consciousness in a state of expanded awareness creates holograms which represents the situation we desire to bring about, and, in so doing, establish the basis for actual realization of the goal. Once the thought-generated hologram of the sought-after objective is established in the universe, it becomes an aspect of the reality which interacts with the universal hologram to bring about the desired objective, which might not, under other circumstances, ever occur. In other words, the technique of patterning recognizes the fact that since consciousness is the source of all reality, our thoughts have the power to influence the development of reality in time and space as it applies to us. If those thoughts can be projected with adequate intensity, however, the more complicated the objective sought and the more radically it departs from our current reality, the more time the universal hologram will need to reorientate our reality sphere to accommodate our desires. Monroe trainers caution against attempting to force the pace of this process because the individual could succeed in dislocating his existing reality with drastic consequences. C. Color breathing. The next technique is called color breathing and is designed to use the expanded awareness and highly focused attentiveness associated with the focused 12 state to imagine various colors in a particularly intense and vivid manner so as to use them to resonate with and in turn to activate the body's own energies. Fundamentally, in terms of practical application, it is healing technique. It is a healing technique which is designed to restore the body and to enhance its physical capabilities by balancing, revitalizing, and retuning bodily energy flows. It is predicted on the principle that the body's electromagnetic field is capable of altering its resonance patterns so as to entrain energy from the Earth's electrostatic field for its own use. The various colors envision in the imagination as part of the technique cue the mind as to which frequencies and what specific amplitudes are desired in connection with the entrainment and the subsequent alteration in bodily energy flow patterns. The color has the capacity to affect the human mind is well known, and the affectuality of color in the certain kinds of healing is a demonstrable fact. For example, applications of an intense blue light to an area of physical tombstoning leads to relatively rapid, easily observable reduction in the swelling, while red, and to a lesser extent yellow, have quite the opposite effect. However, in the hemisync application of the technique, external light sources are not involved, but rather the mind is the sole agent of the healing and revitalization. Whew. Okay. We're getting there. 6 pages left. 6 pages left, guys. Little break. Okay. D. Energy bar tool. Magic wands and enchanted scepters have been part of the folklore and oh my gosh, what is with me not being able to read today? It's like I see it, I know the way it sounds, but it's not coming out of my mouth right, and that bothers me. Okay, folklore and occult practices of many cultures. The scepters, staffs, and maces carried by monarchs and high priests alike occur with such frequency in the history of bygone eras as to suggest that at the very least these items are aspects of some type of archetypical symbol which the human mind seems to appreciate, perhaps quite subtly. In any case, the energy bar tool technique involves envisioning, gosh, she is so salty now, envisioning a small, intensely pulsating dot of light which the participant charges in his imagination with enormous energy until it is virtually pulsating. The participant then extrudes the dot into a shape of sparkling, vibrating cylinder of energy, which he then uses to channel focus form the universe to select parts of his body for purposes of healing and revitalization. E. Remote viewing. In addition, the energy bar tool is used as a portal for initiating a follow-on technique called remote viewing. In this context, the participant turns his bar of energy into a whirling vortex through which he sends his imagination in search of new and illuminating insight. The apparent purpose of the symbolism involved in the vortex seems to be to cue the subconscious and convey it to introductions as to what the participant wishes to do, but in terms of nonverbal symbols which the right hemisphere of the mind is capable of understanding. F. Living body map. The techniques provided amplifications for applications of the energy bar tool as a means of healing specific areas or systems of the human body. The configuration of the participant's body is imagined, and then the various major systems of the nervous and circulatory system are envisioned in appropriate colors within the confines of the outline being held in the imagination. The energy bar tool is then applied to energizing, balancing, and healing in whatever manner the participant desires. In the process, the participant visualizes various streams of colored energy flowing out of the tool into the organ systems or area upon which the revitalizing or healing application is being made. Since colors are the result of differing wavelengths of light, which is to say energy at various frequencies, this technique operates in the assumption that as the human body is composed of energy, it can be vitalized and healed through the adaptive application of additional energy, provided that the energy is applied in the appropriate forms. G. Focus 15. Travel into the past. All of the preceding techniques are conduited at the level of expanding awareness known as Focus 12. However, the technique of the time travel into the past involves further expansion of the consciousness through the inclusion of additional levels of sound on the hemisync tapes. Some of the sound is probably merely an intensification of the basic hemisync frequencies, being designed to further modify brainwave frequencies and amplitudes. Other aspects of the added sound patterns appear to be designed to provide subtle, almost subliminal suggestions to the mind as to what is desired by the further expanded consciousness, so as to support the verbal suggestions and instructions also contained on the tape. Even the instructions are highly symbolic, with time being visualized as a huge wheel in the universe with various spokes, each of which gives access to a different part of the participant's past. Focus 15 is a very advanced state and is extremely difficult to achieve. Probably less than 5% of all participants in any given gateway experience actually fully achieve the Focus 15 state during the course of the approximately 7 days of training. Nothing less, Monroe Institute trainers affirm that with enough practice, eventually Focus 15 can be achieved. They also state that not only the individual's past history is available for examination by one who has achieved Focus 15, but other aspects of the past which the individual himself has had no connection may also be accessed. H. Focus 21. The future. The last and most advanced of all the focus states associated with the Gateway Training Program involves movement outside of the boundaries of time and space as Focus 15, but the attention to discovering the future rather than the past. The individual who has achieved this state has reached a truly advanced level, except in unusual circumstances. It is probably not attainable except by those who have conducted themselves through long applications of meditation, or by those who have practiced long and hard through use of hemisync tapes for a period of months, if not years. Real quick, I just want to say, for anyone that's like, oh, then why would I try, but you still want to try, I need you to understand that essentially, this man has been telling us this whole time that something that they told us we could never ever possibly do and is not real and is only for movies is real and has been real since, like, forever, and that they have scientific proof on it since, like, 1980. And so him saying bluntly that it is impossible for some people to get there is a fucking straight out lie. So just remember that. Just remember that. There's no way there's truth in that statement. There just can't be. Not if everything else he says is true. Not if there's every dimension. Not if there's every world, every possibility. That means there is at least one possibility that every single person can do this in some dimension, and it can be this one if you choose so, if you want that. You have to choose that. You have to want that. You have to look for that. So him saying that is saying people that can't are people who don't want to. That is very different. It upsets me that this whole thing he's been very open-minded up until this point, and I'm pretty sure it's to keep people from doing it. That's why I'm saying that it's very funny how worded this is because it's so specific. It's meant to get you, like, really excited and be like, this is real, but not for you. But not for you, because you don't got the time for it. Because you need to go to work. By the way, the Hemi-Sync videos are like 30 minutes. You can find them. Go Google on YouTube Gateway Experience and you will find the original ones. It's a man's voice, by the way, and you will find it and you can do them. It's very easy. I've already started doing them. It's super easy, and maybe it won't be easy at the beginning for you, but, like, you should try it anyways, like, if it's what you want. Okay, now we're going on to 31, the out-of-body movement. This remarkable phenomenon has been saved for decision in detail until last because of the interest which it occasions and special circumstances involved in its attainment. Monroe Institute stresses that the Gateway Program was not established solely for the purpose of enabling participants to obtain the out-of-body state, nor does the program guarantee that most participants will succeed in doing it during the course of the training at the Institute. Only one tape out of many which make up the Gateway experience is devoted to the techniques involved in the out-of-body movement. Basically, these techniques are merely designed to make it easier for the individual to achieve the out-of-body state when his brainwave pattern and personal energy levels have reached a point that he is in apparent harmony with the surrounding electromagnetic environment, such that he feels that he has reached the threshold where separation is a possibility. To facilitate achieving the out-of-body state, Bob Monroe, the founder of Monroe Institute, is quoted in a recent magazine article as saying that in order to assist the participant, the particular Hemi-Sync tape concerned with that technique employs beta signals of around 2,877.3 CPS. Cycles per second. Since the 30 to 40 CPS is considered to be the normal range of beta waves signals, those associated with the wakeful state, it is apparent that the Monroe Institute is convinced that the same heightened state of brainwave frequency output which promotes altered states of consciousness is also the important consideration in assisting the achievements of out-of-body state. The actual technique employed for separating from the body involves such a simple maneuver as rolling out, lifting out after the fashion of a teleport pole, whereas the individual separates in a rigid, hand-first manner, such as he finds himself standing at attention. Oh, here it is, at the foot of the bed, of his body, and sliding out through either the end of the body. No, it's not. That's not it. Okay. I don't know if anyone who watches has ever, like, been able to leave their body. A lot of people that I know have at least done it once in their lifetime, typically by accident. But it is an intense feeling. It's an intense feeling. And so what they're saying here through, like, when they feel like they can, you will know. You will know. Like, you're like, what? This is not a dream. What's going on? How this? Like, you will know. There's no question. Trust me. You won't be like, oh, I think I did. No, you will know. You will know. Trust me. It's trippy. And I know maybe you don't believe me, but that's okay. You don't have to believe me. This is our government saying that it's real, so that's all I care about. People want to believe them, so they're more trustworthy. 32. Role of the REM sleep. It is interesting to note that Bob Marone formed the Gateway class that finished 7 May 1983, that an ex-trainer of his operating in Charlottesville, Virginia, found that he could guarantee out-of-body movement by bringing participants down into a rapid eye movement, REM, state of sleep, and then use the hemisync tape technique. This may well be a function of the fact that most of, if not all people, repeatedly go into out-of-body state during REM sleep. REM sleep is the deepest sleep level of ordinary sleep and involves complete disengagement of the body's motor cortex function from the neck down and nearly completely suppression of consciousness in the left brain hemisphere. The effect of this is to put the body in a state of complete stillness so far as the skeletal muscle structure is concerned, thereby further promoting the state of deep rest needed to eliminate the bifurcal echo. In addition, it levels the right hemisphere of the brain free to respond to the introductions and suggestive contained on the gateway tape. Suggestions contained on the gateway tape. However, use of the hemisync tape at this point may be less a factor in actually achieving the out-of-body state than it is a matter of focusing the brain enough so that the residual memory of having naturally achieved an out-of-body state is carried into a walking state. Indeed, it may even be postulated that some dreams associated with deep levels of sleep are in fact functions of the same kind of alternate consciousness involved in interacting with the universe that plays a role in all of the focus 12, 15, 21 states described above. The difference between those states and the condition of the mind in REM sleep seems to be that the left hemisphere is almost totally disengaged, and the latter experience, such as memory of what was achieved in the alternate state of consciousness, cannot usually be retrieved by consciousness desired because the left hemisphere has no knowledge of its existence or its location in the right hemisphere. Admittedly, some people can be trained to remember their REM state dreams through intense conditioning in the waking state, but even that may be more of a function of establishing pathways in the right hemisphere which the left hemisphere can access following re-entry into the wakeful state than it is an induction of I'm losing my spot, hold on. Wakeful state than it is an induction of any specific left hemisphere conscious involvement in the process during REM sleep. In any effect, the three apparent conditions required for voluntary inducing an out-of-body state in most individuals seems to be 1. Achieving a state of profound quiet in the body such as the bifurcal echo fades and resonance at approximately 7 Hz is established. 2. Synchronization of the two brain hemisphere wave patterns. And 3. Subsequent stimulation of the right hemisphere of the mind to attain a state of heightened alertness, which of course interferes with brain hemisphere synchronization, but not until a sufficient level of enhanced frequency range has first been established to help achieve the out-of-body state. Okay. I'll break. 33. Information collection potential. The information acquisition potential associated with out-of-body state seems to attract the most attention from the standpoint of developing particle applications for the gateway technique. Unfortunately, although the out-of-body state can apparently be achieved by many people without excess expenditure of time or effort, the purpose to which it can be put are currently limited to the fact that although individuals in that state may travel anywhere on the instantaneous basis in either their terrestrial or in other spheres, information distorted in the former context remains a major concern. To date, according to one of the trainers of my own institution, numerous experiments have been conducted involving persons moving from one coast to the other in and out-of-body states to read a series of 10 computer-generated numbers in a universal laboratory. Although most have acquired enough of the digits to make clear that their consciousness was present, none have ever succeeded in getting all 10 correct. This seems to be a function of the fact that physical reality in the present is not the only holographic influence which the individual may encounter in an out-of-body state. There are also energy patterns left by people or events occurring at the time at the same physical state being viewed, but from the past rather than from the present. In addition, since thoughts are the products of energy patterns, since thoughts are the product of energy pattern and energy patterns are reality, it may also be possible that individuals encounter thoughts forms while in an out-of-body state which mingle with the physical reality and are not easily differentiated. Finally, as Melissa Jagger writes, there is another potential problem area in the sense that holograms can be viewed pseudoscopically. Pseudoscopically. That is to say that inside out or backwards, just as well as they can be seen in proper perspective. Some of the distortions occurring may ultimately prove to be traceable to this cause because in the out-of-body state, an individual may perceive the holographic energy pattern given off by people or things interacting in time, space, reality in a somewhat distorted form. Okay. I found it, guys. Okay, so 34 belief system considerations. This is the part where there's a whole page missing. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to finish reading this today because we're got 3 pages left. And tomorrow or whenever I do this again, I'll read the missing page and go into some of the articles. So, let's do this. Okay. 34. Belief system considerations. In 1967, Alexandra David Neal and Liam Youngden wrote a book entitled Secret Oral Techniques of Tibetan Buddhist Sects, from which the following quote is taken. The tangible world of movement says that masters not a collection of moving objects, but movement itself, there is no objects in movement. It is the movement which constitutes the objects which appear to us. They are nothing but movement. This movement is continued and infinitely rapid succession of flashes of energy. In Tibetan, TSAL or SHOUG, Tsal or Shang, all objects perceptible to our senses, all phenomenon of whatever kind of whatever aspects they may assume, are constituted by a rapid succession of instantaneous events. Dang. The classic description of the universal hologram is to be found in a Hindu sutra which says, "In the heaven of Indra there is said to be a network of pearls so arranged that if you look at one, you see all the other reflected in it." I have cited this quotation because it shows the concept of the universe which at least some physicists are now coming to accept is identical to its essential aspects with the one known to the learned elite and selected civilizations and cultures of high attainment in the ancient world. The concept of the cosmic egg, for example, it is well known to scholars familiar with the ancient writings of the Eastern religion, nor are the theories present in this paper at variances with the essential tenets of the Judeo-Christian stream of thought. The concept of visual reality, i.e. the created world, as being an emanation of an omnipotent and omniscient divinity who is completely unknowable in his primary state of being, the absolute, at rest in infinity, is a concept straight out of the Hebrew mystical philosophy. Even the Christian concept of Trinity shines through the description of the Absolute as present in the paper. The description of the energy totally at rest and infinite fits the Christian metaphysical concept of the Father, while the infinite self-consciousness resides in the energy providing the motive force of will to bring a portion of that energy into the motion to create reality correspondence with the sun. This is so because in order to attain self-consciousness, the consciousness of the Absolute must project a hologram of itself and then perceive it. That hologram is a mirror image of the Absolute in infinity, still exists outside time and space, but is one step removed from the Absolute and is the actual agent of all creations, all realities, and the external thought or concept of self, which results from the self-consciousness, serves the... And then you scroll down, and it starts at 37. And that's what they do to you in this. They just take out this whole fucking page that continues on essentially, like, logisticizing why God is real because of our consciousness and the way that we function, and that for there to be non-infinity happening, right, the Absolute, it needs something to connect itself between the creation so it can obtain the information through its perception. So it created God, us, so that it could create us. So, you know, we created its and everything. It's like, it already said it once, everything is a smaller version of itself, has a bigger version of itself, and that's how that works. Alright. Anyways, let's finish these last 2 pages, and then I'll get this up on YouTube, and you can see the whole thing. And tomorrow I'll come back and we'll read that. We'll read the missing page and get into some of the things that they collected to to prove this in this paper, right? All the books and other things that people have done. Because again, people should know that this article that was created wasn't based on our government doing it, but what other people did in the 80s, and them collecting that knowledge to say, yep, that's real. That's true. So, just remember that. Just remember that. I'm really excited because this is it. This is it. 37. Motivational aspect. It is a step-by-step procedure which involves repetitive practices in the techniques concerned, using each new insight as a mean of penetrating farther during the next practice session. But the rate of progress is so much faster with the gateway approach than it is with transcendental meditation or other forms of mental self-discipline, and its horizons seem to be so much wider that the discipline needed to practice it would seem to the discipline needed to practice it would seem to be within the means of even the impatient, result-orientated, skeptical pragmatics of our society. Unlike yoga and other forms of Eastern mental discipline, Gateway does not require the infinite patience and total personal subservience to and faith in a system. Wow, really? You just do that? My computer shut the screen off for some reason. I just rolled it down, so I don't know why I did that. It shouldn't close out that soon. I don't have it like that, so interesting choice of timing. Anyways, sorry. Gateway does not require the infinite practice and total personal subservience to faith in a system of discipline designed to absorb all the individual's energy over most of a lifetime. Rather, it will begin to produce at least minimal results within a relatively short time, such that enough feedback is available to motivate and energize the individual to continue working with it. Indeed, the speed with which an individual may exceed excess to progress seems less a function of the number of hours spent participating than it is a question of the speed with which he or she is able to use the insight gained to release anxieties and stress within both the mind and body. These points of energy blockage seem to provide the principal barriers to achieve the enhanced energy states and focus of mind needed for rapid progression. The more compulsive, the more uptight the individual may be at the outset, the more barriers he or she will initially encounter to achieve a deep or intimate experience. But as the insight begins to come and the blockages begin to dissolve, the way ahead becomes increasingly clear, and the value of Gateway moves from the status of a matter of intellectual assessment to one of personal experience. And this is the end, the conclusion, 38. There's a sound, rational basis in terms of physical science, parameters for considering Gateway to be plausible in terms of the essential objective, intuitional insights of not only personal but of practical and professional natures would seem to be within bounds of reasonable expectations. However, a phased approach for entering the Gateway experience in an accelerated mode would seem to be required if the time needed to reach advanced states of altered consciousness is to be brought within more manageable limits from the standpoint of establishing the organization-wide exploitation of gateways potential. The most promising approach suggests in a foregoing study involves the following steps. Are you ready? A. Begin by using gateway hemisync tapes to achieve enhanced brain focus and to induce hemisphere synchronization. Then add strong REM sleep frequencies to induce left brain quiescence and deep physical relaxation. C. Provide hypnotic suggestion designed to enable an individual to induce deep automotive state at will. D. Use automotive suggestions to attain much enhanced focus on concentration and motivation in rapidly progressing through Focus 12 exercises. E. Then repeat step A and B following use of the auto-hypnotic suggestion that an out-of-body movement will occur and be remembered. F. Repeat step E to achieve facilitating and gaining out-of-body state under conscious control. Altered hypnotic suggestion to stress ability to consciously control out-of-body movement and contain it even after REM sleep state ends. G. Approach Focus 15 and 21 objectives, escape from time, space, and interact with new dimensions from the out-of-body perspective. H. Use multi-focus approach to solve problem of distortion in terrestrial information gathering trips. This approach involves the use of 3 individuals in the out-of-body state, one viewing the target object here in time-space, one viewing it at Focus 15 as it slips into the immediate past, and one viewing it as Focus 21 as it slips from the immediate future. Debrief all 3 and compare data gathered from the 3 points of view. If care is taken to ensure that 3 all go out of body together in the same environment, their consciousness energy system should resonate in sympathetic oscillation. They can tune in to the same target on different planes dimensions with greater efficiency. I. Encourage pursuit of full self-knowledge by all individuals involved in the foregoing experiments to enhance objectivity in and out of body observations and thinking, and to remove personal energy blockages likely to retard rapid progress. J. Be intellectually prepared to react to possible encounters with intelligence, non-corporeal energy forms when time-space boundaries are exceeded. K. Arrange to have groups of people in Focus 12 states unite their altered consciousness to build holographic patterns around sensitive areas to repulse possible unwanted out-of-body presences. L. Encourage more advanced gateway participants to build holographic patterns of successful attainment and rapid progress for advanced colleagues to assist them in processing through their gateway system. If these experiments are carried through, it is to be hoped that we will truly find a gateway to gateway and to the realm of practical application for the whole system of techniques which compromise it. Then the last page is the bibliography, and I will go over that the next time with the missing page. And I'm really excited. I'm hoping you're enjoying this as much as I am, and I look forward to kind of, I don't know, get more feedback. So I'll see you guys soon. Bye.